connected to a stable internet connection. Third, use our chat box to raise your question about the topic or if you have any concerns. And lastly, find a quiet space where you can sit up and listen. And one more thing, here's the reminder in getting your e-certificate. First, you must finish the evaluation form that will be given after the webinar. The evaluation form link is only available 1 hour, so make it sure to finish it immediately. And wait at least 5 working days for the processing of your e-certificate. Thank you. And hi, hello, mabuhay, good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our today's webinar entitled Research Work, a Viewpoint for Hospitality Management Students. And now, may I request everyone to ready yourself as we start our webinar with an invocation to be followed by the singing of the national anthem and singing of the hymn of Olongapo City.
In nomine Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Lungsod na mapayapa, lungsod na marangal, sa reglas ng silangan, bayani ang mamamayan. Sakit sa bayan, sa pusin at nunulay, ipinagpupunyi, walong kapo aming bayan. Kapwa-tao at volunteerismo, lungsod na makulay, may puhalaging gabay. Sama-sama bawat oras, sa pag-ulat, ulong ako ang bayan, ika'y walang katulad. Kapwa-tao at volunteerismo, lungsod na makulay, may palaging gabay. Sama-sama bawat oras, sa pag-ulat, ulong ako ang bayan, ika'y aming tanglad.
Again, good afternoon to my fellow students, to all CHTM instructors, and also to our distinguished guest speaker. Good afternoon, sir. And to our coordinator, Mr. Jason Bagasan. Good afternoon, sir. And of course, to our CHTM Dean, Mr. Mark Alvin Valentin Lazaro. Good afternoon, Dean. But first of all, at this point, I would like to congratulate the share officers who are the reason why we are having this kind of activity. I'm Isagani Norberto Castillas Jr., Share Vice President Internal Affairs and CHTM Council Vice President External Affairs, and I will be your host for today's webinar entitled Research Work, a Viewpoint for Hospitality Management Students. To begin this webinar, may I call on Mr. Mark Alvin Valentin Lazaro, our CHTM Dean, to give an opening remarks.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. MC, Mr. Isagani, and to the chair officers and their advisors, Sir Vincent de la Cruz, and to the faculty members of CHTM, and to our resource speaker, Sir Rugayan, and to the students of BSHM third year and fourth year. Good afternoon to all of you. Okay, so welcome to the seminar entitled Viewpoints on the Research Guide. Okay, as you can see, meron naman nag-invite tayo ng distinguished person na mag-webinar regarding on the research para hindi kayo mahirapan kung paano ba ang flow, because nowadays in the academe or in the education, very important ang research and extension. Okay, so good luck to all the participants and listen carefully to the speakers, and mabuhay at magandang hapon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Alvin Valentin Lazaro, for that wonderful remarks. Now, if anyone has any question and concerns that is related to our topic, simply click the raise hand button for order to us to notice you and open your mic to raise your question. Or simply just go to the website in Google, type menti.com, and enter the code 5237677, and you are free to ask any question and your personal identity will be anonymous. To formally start our webinar, may I call on Ms. Princess Bel Isidro, Chair President, to introduce our guest speaker for this afternoon.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Our resource speaker is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Biological Science, and currently writing his thesis for the degree in Master of Arts in Science Education in Biology at the Philippine Normal University in Manila. His numerous researches have been published in ISI and Scopus Index journals such as Universal Journal of Educational Research, Review of International Geographical Education Online, Participatory Educational Research, Journal for the Education of Gifted Young Scientists, International Journal of Innovation, Creativity and Change, and International Electronic Journal of Environmental Education. His research works were also published in international and local publications, namely International Journal of Multidisciplinary Applied Business and Education Research, Biosphere Journal Tadris Biology, Journal of Science Learning, Review of International Geographical Education Online, International Journal of Technology and Education, People International Journal of Social Sciences, and many more. He also presented in various international and national research forums and conventions. He won the Best Abstract Award in Research during the 3rd Philippine Conference on Interdisciplinary Research, granted by the International Association of Scholarly Publishers, Editors, and Reviewers Incorporated. He was also the Best Research Presenter for Leadership and Management in the 1st International Research Webcon and the 6th Guro Research Awards. Currently, he is working as the University Director for Communications and Public Relations and as a University Instructor in President Ramon Magsaysay State University in San Marcelino, Zambales. Let us all welcome our resource speaker for today, Mr. Danilo V. Ragayan Jr.
Hello po, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all. Thank you po for the kind introduction. Let me just share my screen po for a while. So once again po, good afternoon to the Dean of College, Sir Mark Alvin Lazaro. Good afternoon, sir. To the advisor of the organization, Sir John Vincent de la Cruz. Thank you po for the invite and for the opportunity. Before I start, may I ask po, Sir Vincent, if my slide is visible?
Yes, sir, visible and we're loud and clear din po.
Okay po. Again po, marami pong salamat sa paanyaya po na makapagbahagi ng aking humble experience and knowledge regarding research. And as introduced and as articulated by Dean Lazaro earlier, it is very important that we know the basics of research. And for today's presentation, um, the presentation that I'll be sharing is titled Research Works, a Viewpoint for Hospitality Management Students. Again, I'd like to commend the Society of Hotel and Restaurant Enthusiasts, or SHARE, under the College of Hospitality and Management of Gordon College for this very noble undertaking to improve the research culture in your college and to be able to develop and further enhance the research skills of our dear students. And I believe that most of you attending here are third years and fourth years who are already conducting their respective researches or probably proposing for the research. And probably this particular short webinar will give you some insights and hopefully learn from it regarding the research process. So for the talking points, I'll be sharing with you the following as we go along in the discussion. First, research, because, so what's the very essence? Why are we doing research? Why are we conducting it? I'll be sharing with you the basic parts of research as articulated earlier. And then I'll be sharing some research sources and tools that you could use now that we are still in the emergency remote education. And then how do we conduct research now that we're in navigating the new normal? So I'll be sharing some information and insights about it. And then tips and hacks for oral defense remotely. I'm not sure though if in your college you will be defending your research online or virtually, but yeah, I'll be sharing some tips about this one. Also, for the last part, I'll be sharing some research dissemination and publication. Since this is more about the viewpoint in the hospitality management and how do you actually prepare your proposal or conduct, and then how do you present it during your oral defense. So it's very how do you call it? It's jump packed into a 1 hour to a 1.5 hour discussion. But of course, I know that this will just be an overview, since research will take like a semester or two, no, for you to be able to grasp all the concept. But I'll try to be very brief here, and hopefully will help you throughout. And if you have question, as emphasized by the moderator, you could just put it in the comment box for the open forum later on. Probably I could further discuss that if I miss something. So kailangan mag-research because, so ano nga ba? Bakit nga ba tayo nagre-research? Well, there are a lot of reasons why we are doing research. And as articulated by Dean earlier, it's very important that your College of Hospitality Management, would be able to train you in conducting research. First, it's not because you're trying to comply with your degree program. It's a compliance, yes, but more than that, it's actually your contribution to the existing body of knowledge. What is your contribution that can help others as well in your field to be able to improve the processes, the policies, and the programs that you are in? Secondly, you're doing research also to enhance your skills. Enhance your skills in terms of critical thinking, in terms of inquisitiveness, in terms of finding solutions to problems. It's very basic that we do research because there's a problem. And I always reiterate to my students na kapag sila ay magpo-propose ng isang pananaliksik o ng isang pag-aaral, kinakailangang nakasandig ito or naka-anchor ito sa isang problema. So lagi niyong tatanungin sa sarili niyo, bakit ko ginagawa ang research na to? Ano bang problema? What is the problem? What is the condition? Why are we conducting such research? Because the panelists later on would look into your introduction and would like to see in the introduction part, ano ba ang problema? Bakit nyo naisip at bakit nyo gagawan ng research ang topic na ito? there should always be a problem, there should always be a gap, no? A research gap na sinasabi. So pag sinabi natin research gap, ano yung kulang na hindi pa masyadong na-explore ng mga naunang pag-aaral? Baka naman sobrang dami na ng mga studies na yan, sobrang dami na ng mga pag-aaral na yan. Bakit mo pa i-research? Bakit mo pa uulitin? So you always go back to your literature. So titignan natin, magkakaroon kayo ng tinatawag na literature survey. Ayon sa mga nabasa po namin, nakafocus lang, for example, ang mga pag-aaral patungkol, for example, sa attitude towards hospitality management. So napakarami pong pag-aaral towards attitude ng mga college students towards hospitality management. Pero wala po kami masyado nakikita mga pag-aaral patungkol, for example, sa challenges encountered by hospitality management students in their area. For example lang to. And then, that's the time that you can actually propose that as one of your research topics. So that's why we are doing research, not only because we're trying to comply, but we are trying to enhance also our skills in writing, our skills in critical thinking, and other 21st century skills that you will need later on as you go to your workplace. Now, maraming tinatawag na research hugot, and I'll be sharing with you some 5 reasons kung bakit daw mas maganda ang research kaysa sa love life mo, no? So pag wala ka pang love life, baka pwedeng mag-research ka na lang muna, no? So first daw, ang research ay dinedefend. And tinitignan natin yung mga panelists minsan, most of the time ng mga fault finders, mga error finders, and I think that's their job, no? So trabaho talaga nila yon na mahanap yung mga kakulangan, yung weakness ng inyong mga papel, ng inyong mga thesis, but that is for betterment, no, ng inyong thesis manuscript or ng inyong research proposal. So you really have to defend it, no? Kailangan dinedefend mo yan. Minsan sa lab parang hindi ka na de-defend, diba? So but in research you have to defend it fully. You have to defend it so that you will be able to express na ito yung gusto niyang gawin because there's a problem, there's a gap that you need to fill in, that you need to address. Ikalawa, ang research ay may ethical consideration. So, marami tayong ngayong mga issues on ethics, di ba? So, pag sinabi natin ethical considerations, kino-consider natin humingi ba tayo ng proper approval in the conduct of the study. Part yan ng ethical considerations. Humingi rin ba tayo ng informed consent sa ating mga participants? So, bago ka ba nag-interview o bago ka ba nag-survey, are they willing to take part of your study? So in research, we do that. We make sure that each of these details are followed. Okay? Ikatlo, ang research ay may significant levels. Diba? Lagi nating naririnig in your statistics, significant at 5%, diba? Or significant at 1% level of significance. So when you're conducting quantitative research, when you're conducting, for example, descriptive survey research, and you want to test it through ANOVA or t-test, may mga level of significance. And sa research yan meron, no? Sa lab life nyo ba, may significant levels? Gaano ka ka-importante sa kanya, di ba? So that's another question for as one of the comparison for this one. Ikaapat, ang research ay may clear and specific objectives. So in research, laging din tinitignan ng inyong mga panelists later on, if hindi masyadong broad yung inyong mga topic, no, it should be very specific, okay, at clear yung gusto nyong mangyari. Hindi masyadong maraming objectives, pwede nang iisang objective, and then may mga specific objectives kayo na pwedeng gustong gawin in your paper. And then lastly, ang research ay may proposal. Minsan, sa lab life, no, if you are into girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, minsan hindi umaabot sa wedding proposal. Minsan nagbe-break, no, in after 6 months or a year or 2, diba? But in research, kailangan meron. Kailangan magsimula yan talaga sa isang proposal. And then, kailangan mo yang i-defend. And then after defense, kailangan mong buuin hanggang sa final defense or final oral defense. That's why I think research, no, is better than your lab life, no, as of today. All right. Now, I'd like to share with you some basic parts of research. No, you know this very well, but let's try to dissect it one by one. And then tignan natin ano nga bang dapat lamanin ng bawat bahagi na ito ng pananaliksik. So una, introduction. Meron tayo kasing tinatawag na IMRAD. No? Pag narinig niyo yung IMRAD, narinig niyo na ba yung IMRAD? Pag narinig niyo na nga yung IMRAD, pakisabing yes, narinig na namin. Yes, or pakitype yung yes if you already heard IMRAD. And tingnan natin kung narinig na nga ninyo at ano nga bang ibig sabihin ng IMRAD. So I'll check the chat box here. If yes or no, kung no, kung hindi nyo pa narinig, yes, kapag narinig na ninyo, no? Yung IMRAD, no? So, IMRAD. So, IMRAD is actually the very parts of a research article, okay? And then, pwede ito rin ang mga ginagamit natin for your thesis manuscript or research paper. So, I stands for introduction, M stands for methodology, RAD stands for results and discussion. And then sa dulong part, of course, your conclusions and recommendations. So when you publish your paper later on, ito rin yung mga hinahanap ng journal. But of course, let's try to dissect it one by one. For introduction, kinakailangan meron kayong background of the study. Okay, so for the background of the study, ilalagay natin dito ano yung problema, ano yung kondisyon, ano yung mga gap na nakikita nyo, at ano yung naging hugot ninyo, naging inspirasyon nyo in conducting the research. Pwede itong lamanan ng mga statistics na makakapag-support ng inyong mga claim. For example, sinasabi niyo na that hospitality management, for example, no, ang research mo would be about challenges encountered by students in hospitality management. Example lang naman to. And then, sinasabi niyo na there are challenges encountered by hospitality management students during the COVID-19 pandemic. So magbigay kayo ng mga support sa inyong mga claim by reading the literature. When you write your background of the study, you also have read na the literature because the background of the study, the introduction and literature review sometimes are integrated. So for your literature review, you also include that in your background of the study. Pwede ka rin mag-cite ng mga statistics coming from news articles. Okay, like for example, mga Philippine Star, nabasa nyo in newspapers, Philippine Daily Inquirer, pwede na. Pwede nang naglagyan. For example, gusto nyo rin tignan yung employability of hospitality management students during the COVID-19 year. For example, the COVID-19 era. And then pwede kayong mag-cite ng statistics from DOLE, for example, Department of Labor and Employment, na sinasabi na parang 2 out of or let's say 8 out of 10 Filipino college graduates do not have are not employed during the COVID-19 in the first year of COVID-19. So you can actually add that in your background of the study. And you could also have a separate for literature review. So anong ginagawa natin for literature review? Ang ginagawa for literature review, dati ang ginagawa is local and foreign, no? So parang hinihiwala yung local literature and then yung foreign literature. May mga iba naman sa mga format na iba, pag pinagsasama na yon, ang ginagawa na lang is thematic ang approach. Pag sinabi natin thematic, per variable yung discussion ng inyong literature review. Say for example, your study is about employment of hospitality management during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, pwede siguro ang una is employment of hospitality management students. So, hahanap kayo ng mga literature about employment of hospitality management students. So, nandun. And then another subheading, another theme na pwede niyong ilagay under your literature review is that, for example, pwede kayo maglagay ng challenges in, for example, challenges of hospitality management employment during COVID-19 pandemic. So another section yun wherein you can actually include some literature or some articles pertaining to that. And then, meron tayong tinatawag na framework of the study. So for framework, nasa inyong format yan, no, in your college if you will be using your theoretical framework or conceptual framework or both. No? For theoretical framework, tinitignan nyo dito saan aangkla or saan sasandig or what is the root or the lens of your paper, what theory. So hahanap kayo ng theory that is connected to your study and make sure that you describe the connection. Ginamit namin yung theory na to kasi related to sa aming pananaliksik. Paano? So you have to discuss how that particular theory is related to your study. Now, for the conceptual framework, you are actually discussing the concepts included in your study. Ano yung mga concepts na aaralin ninyo? What are the variables included in your study? Ano yung mga concepts na laman na gusto nyo aralin? And these particular concepts should be defined, okay, operationally. Ibig sabihin, ang mga definition na gagamitin natin sa ating conceptual framework ay base sa kung paano natin to gagamitin sa ating research. Hindi ibig sabihin na merong definition si dictionary, kukunin lang natin yan agad-agad. No. We are trying to make sure that these concepts are related to what we are trying to study in our paper. And then, of course, mahalaga din na ma-include in your introduction yung objective. Diyan na papasok yung statement of the problem niyo. So for your objective of the study, pwedeng mag-general statement muna kayo and then a specific statement. So paano yun? For example, the study aims to determine the challenges of hospitality management students, for example, in learning during the COVID-19 educational disruption. For example lang yun. And then specific, na magkakaroon. Specifically, it will answer the following questions. Number 1, okay, so for example, you want to get the profile. No? So what is the profile of the hospitality management student? Second, what are the different challenges faced by the hospitality? So there are specific objective or specific questions in your study. Apart from that, we also have the methodology. So mamaya I'll be sharing with you some sources. Saan ba tayo pwede makakuha, sir, ng mga sources for literature? Because we just discussed about literature, and it's very important that you read first the literature before you come up with a researchable topic. Okay? So laging una literature muna. Nagbasa muna kayo. Kasi pag tatanungin kayo ng mga, for example, ng research teacher nyo or ng research panelist ninyo, anong alam mo tungkol sa topic na yun? At least meron because you already surveyed or how we call it, read the literature. Secondly is the methodology. For the IMRAD, we go to letter M, methodology. Pag sinabing methodology, pamamaraan. So paano natin gagawin yung pananaliksik? Meron na tayo, may introduction na tayo, clear na yung objective natin, specific na yung ating gustong malaman patungkol sa topic. Now we go to methodology. So unang bahagi nito, maaaring ito ay iba sa format niyo, pero syempre halos magkakapareho naman tayo, no, ng mga parts na to. These are the general parts, no, the basic parts. So una, research design. So ano yung meron sa research design? Sa research design, i-discuss mo dito anong disenyo, no, anong klase ng pananaliksik ang inyong gustong gawin. Gusto nyo bang quantitative research? Gusto nyo bang may statistics, may computation later on? O gusto nyo ba ng qualitative research, yung walang computation pero meron kayong analysis of the open and of the responses, of the qualitative responses from your interview, for example, or from your focus group discussion? Or pwedeng mix, merong computation part, no, merong survey na i-compute ninyo ang means and standard deviation, and then merong additional open-ended question kayo na gusto nyo i-analyze that's part of your qualitative research, pwede namang mixed method design. So dito nyo sasabihin, will you be using descriptive survey? Will you be using qualitative research, like for example, case study? Pwedeng ganon. Okay? So nasa sa inyo ano kayang swak, no, na metodolohiya na disenyo ng aming pananaliksik ang pwede namin gamitin. So, pag nasabi nyo na yon that you will be using, for example, descriptive survey research, ang second na gagawin niyo is maghanap kayo ng mga definitions, no, ng descriptive survey na mula sa iba't ibang mga authors and ilagay niyo doon. So, you can include 1 to 2 authors definition of that particular research design to back up what that particular design is, no? Kasi minsan ang So you can actually back up that with literature citation. So pwedeng may dalawa kayo na authors na nabasa ninyo na nag-define ng descriptive survey, then you include that. Secondly is respondents and sampling. So tinatawag natin respondents kapag ang design ninyo ay survey, no, or descriptive survey or quantitative approach. Kasi magpaparespond kayo sa kanila ng survey questionnaire. Pero kung hindi naman kayo gagamit ng survey questionnaire at gagamit kayo, for example, ng interview as your methodology at wala kayong papasagutin kundi kayo yung kukuha ng data through interview, ang tawag naman natin sa kanila ay participant. So, depende, no? So, pwedeng participants kung qualitative ang gagamitin yung approach or respondents if you will be using quantitative research or you will be using descriptive survey for that. Okay? So, ayan. So, I think yung mga questions nasa Menti. So, later on, sige, titignan na lang natin sila. Okay. Next, research local. So, syempre, kailangan natin malaman saan mo ikakandak yung study. No? So, will it be Subic Bay Freeport Zone? Will it be Gordon College lang? Will it be Olongapo City or Zambales? So, nasa sa inyo yan. So, in research local, you will be including the specific places and then the map of your research area. No? So para later on makita, no, saan nga ba dito? Saan dito sa Olongapo? So may mga ganon. And then kasama na rin dyan sa research local ang brief description of the local. Bakit yon ang inyong napili? Alright? Then for the research instrument, pag narinig nating research instrument, no, pag sa music instrument, no, so iba yon sa instrument sa research. Because in research instrument, these are the tools that we use in gathering data. Pwedeng survey questionnaire ito, pwedeng interview guide. At meron tayong mga example later on ng mga research instrument na pwede nyo magamit now that we are still navigating the new normal, we're still in the COVID-19 pandemic. How do we actually conduct research? No? So we have a separate discussion on that. And then data collection. Yun nga, nasabi ko sa inyo, data collection, dito, ikikwento ninyo. It's in a narrative style or pwedeng face by face or step by step style. For data collection, sasabihin nyo muna ano yung first ninyong gagawin. Pwedeng, una siguro, development of research questionnaire. First, the researchers will develop research questionnaire. And then after the approved research questionnaire, the researcher will go to the concerned authorities to ask approval to the conduct of research. So second part na yon ng inyong ano. So in your data collection, you're trying to make kwento, no? So nagkikwento kayo ng inyong mga gagawin, yung mga actual na gagawin niyo in order for you to gather the data. Then after may approval, you will ask informed consent to the participants. Pag sinabi natin informed consent, may papapirmahan kayo or may i-click sila kung Google Form ang gagamitin nyo na pumapayag sila that they are willing to take part of your study. And that's part of our ethical consideration. Then after nun, pag nakuha nyo ng informed consent, anong next? You, for example, you conduct na the survey or you conduct na the interview. Then after the conduct of the interview, data organization. You will organize the data for analysis. So yun, you will try to state narratively the process that you will undergo for your data collection. So sa ibang format, tinatawag tong data gathering procedure. Pamamaraan ng pagkuha ng mga datos. Okay? And then after no, naka-data collect na tayo, naka-data gather na tayo, you go to data analysis. So, sir, ano namang ilalagay namin for data analysis? For data analysis, you will be including here paano mo i-analyze ang data? Anong gagamitin mong mga statistical tools? Or kung hindi ka man quantitative research, anong gagamitin mong way of analyzing your qualitative data? So, sasabihin mo rito. And then, sa bawat statistical tool, pwede mo rin ibigay yung kanyang description para saan ang mean. Okay, the mean will be used to describe, for example, the average responses of the respondents in terms of their challenges in learning during COVID-19 pandemic, for example. No? So, bibigyan natin yun ng bawat description. And then, pwede nyo rin sabihin in your data analysis, will you be using software and computing? O gagamit po ba tayo? Ano ba yung mga software natin na pwedeng gamitin for computing? We have SPSS, we have Excel, we have Stata. So mamaya, ipakita ko lang sa inyo yung ilan sa mga ito na baka pwede nyo ma-explore later on. Okay? And then, for ethical consideration, siguro yung ibang part, kung kunyari walang part sa inyong paper ng ethical consideration, pwede nyo siyang isama sa data collection. No? Pwede na the researchers will follow ethical protocol. For example lang naman, no, hindi kaya ng online yung data gathering nyo. Kunyari lang naman to example. And then, pakisabi din sa ethical consideration, the researcher will follow health protocols such as wearing a face mask and face shield and observing physical distancing as they interview the respondents or participants. Pwedeng ganun. If you will be conducting your research on-site or not online. So kasi ngayon, mamaya as I discuss how to conduct research in the new normal, I'll be sharing with you the online data gathering procedure. But if you will be, for example, doing it on-site, you have to follow the ethical protocol and the health protocol. And then, after nun, results and discussion na. So, natapos na ninyo yung inyong proposal because the proposal part is the IM, the introduction and methodology. After the proposal, may proposal defense kayo, and then, kung walang revisions na gagawin, you go now to the data gathering. And after data gathering, pag na-analyze na yung result, ayun na, isusulat na ninyo. So, for the results and discussion, nasa sa inyo yan. What type of data presentation will you be using? Will you be using table? Will you be using graphics, a bar graph, no? Bar graph, line graph, a pie chart, may mga ganyan. So, nasa sa inyo yan. Ang gusto ko lang i-emphasize dito in the results and discussion is this. For the results, of course, you will try to interpret, okay, the table or the graph. And then for the discussion part or the discussion part, you will discuss the implications of the data trend. Ano ba yung implication na nakita nyo doon sa naging interpretation ninyo sa inyong table? At lalagyan nyo yun ng literature support. So when you discuss in your results and discussion, you discuss the results, you include the implications of the results based on the data trend na makikita ninyo, and then the literature support. So again, the interpretation, the statistical interpretation, the implications, and the literature support. So that's how you discuss each of your table, each of your table or each of your graph in your paper. Hindi lang yung diniscuss mo lang yung statistics, no? Diniscuss mo lang kung ano yung nakita mo sa data, pero hindi ka naman nag-imply. What does it mean? What does it imply? So it implies that the hospitality management students, for example, okay, face different challenges, no, as they navigate, as they learn during the COVID-19 pandemic. These results conform to the study of. So maglalagay ka ngayon ng mga support for that. Okay? So what else? So ano pa yung pwede natin ilagay sa results? Pwede na ninyong ilagay din yung mga insights ninyo as a researcher base doon sa nakita ninyo, because in the results and discussion, they should be rich, no, in discussing. Hindi ka lang nag-discuss lang ng numbers, kundi you are trying to give insights about the contribution of your study. And then for the conclusions and recommendations, so sa conclusions base yan sa results, hindi tayo pwedeng mag-conclude nang wala sa results. And then kung ilan yung, for example, nilagay ninyong research problems in your chapter 1. So, for example, may 5 kayong research problems in your introduction. Dapat meron din kayong 5 subheadings sa results. So, ibig sabihin may 5 major results din. Kasi 5 nga yung problema mo nilagay mo sa as a statement problem. So, ibig sabihin sa conclusion mo, may 5 ring conclusions. Hindi, minsan nagiging magic when I read manuscript, 5 statement of the problem, 4 ang results. Hindi pwedeng ganon. So, may 5 din dapat na result. And then, ang conclusion dapat 5 din. No? Hindi pwedeng 3 lang, hindi 4. Because naka-parallel dapat itong mga to. So, parallelism must be observed when you write your statement of the problem, your results later, and then conclusions. And then, for the recommendations, nakabase pa rin yan sa conclusion. So, pwedeng maging 5 recommendations or more than 5. Pwede naman na. Meron tayong additional recommendations, no problem. But basically, all the recommendations should also come from the conclusions. By the way, ano nga ba yung conclusions? Yan na yung inyong pinaka answers to your research problem. So, nag-conclude ka na, no, base doon sa inyong ibinigay na problema or sinagutang problema. And then, base sa mga conclusion na meron ka, na isinulat mo, ano yung ngayon yung gagawin? So, recommendation is your suggestions, okay? Your, parang, what will be your next action, no? So, ano ngayon? What now? Kung ito yung result, kung ito yung conclusion, ano ngayon ang pwedeng gawin? Kung sobrang grabe ang challenges ng mga estudyante, for example, in hospitality management, what can we do about it? So, pwede kang ng mga specific stakeholder. The teachers may, diba? The school administrators may consider, okay, mga ganyan. The parents and other relatives may mga ganon. So you need to make sure that all of these people can help you out regarding the process. Okay? So next. Sabi dito, ang research simula pa lang clear na dapat ang scope at limitation, no? So para walang aasa. So ganon, no? Sa research, okay, dapat alam niyo ilan lang dapat ang respondents. ano lang dapat ang lokal at ano lang dapat yung kukunin yung datos, no? Kasi kapag sobrang sabog yan at hindi nyo alam kung ano nga ba yung limitation ninyo, mahihirapan kayo bilang mga researcher. So, isinusulat yan sa under introduction. I think you will have a separate part for that in your thesis format. Dito, sinasabi natin, sino lang ang respondents? At ano yung criteria ng mga respondents ninyo? So, dapat ang mga respondents ay enrolled sa College of Hospitality Management. Dapat third year at fourth year lang, mga gano'n. So may mga ano kayo, no? May mga scope kayo. And then yung limitation ninyo din, isasama nyo rin ano yung magiging limit ninyo. So magsa-survey lang ba kayo? Hindi ba kayo mag-i-interview? So you also include that. Para later on, no, hindi tayo magka-problema regarding that. Okay. So apart from that, for the last topic for the basic parts of research, I'd like also to emphasize the abstract. Okay. So for the abstract, magagawa mo lang yung abstract after mo matapos yung inyong thesis manuscript. So ibig sabihin, naka-data gather na, may recommendations na, may conclusions ka na, saka mo gagawin yung abstract. Because the abstract is the summary of your research. It's the gist. Ito yung buod. Ito yung lagom ng inyong pananaliksik. At meron tong mga bahagi, no, na bahagi din naman ng full paper. Pero ito kasi, ang abstract ay isinusulat ng 150 to 300 words. So, base yan sa format din ninyo, pero ideally, pwedeng hanggang 150 to 300 words lang to. So, sa abstract, kasama nyo yung introductory statement. Say, for example, meron kayong one sentence na introduction about your topic or about your title. And then your major goal. So the study aims to document or to determine the challenges encountered by hospitality management students in learning during COVID-19 pandemic. Then methods, the study used descriptive survey, research, and sa methods, isama nyo dyan yung design na. Tapos sino yung sinama nyo? It involved 100 HM students in one city college in Ilonggo City. So kasama na doon. No? Ano pa ang pwedeng ilagay sa methods? Statistics, no? Statistics use where mean, standard deviation, ANOVA, percent, etc. And then major findings, sasama ninyo, major findings, no? The study revealed that, ayan, so isasama ninyo that there is a high, level of challenges encountered by HM students, etc. And then conclusions and recommendations. No? The study recommends that, no? So, yan, gagawin ninyo yan, okay, right after na mabuo ninyo yung bahagi ng inyong pananaliksik. Okay? Sabi dito, the fact that I procrastinate and still get the job done is the reason I still procrastinate. So mahilig din tayo, lalo sa pagpe-prepare ng thesis proposal and thesis manuscript ng pagpa-procrastinate. Ay, bukas na natin gawin yan, pwede naman gawin yan ng isang araw lang. So imagine, gagawin ninyo ang inyong chapter 1 to 3 ng isang araw because you procrastinated for the last, for example, 3 months, na sinabi ng inyong research advisor or research teacher, o gawin na to, pero hindi natin ginagawa. And I think that's one of the tips that I'll be sharing with you, that we need not to procrastinate, no? Kasi minsan na ko-compromise yung quality ng ating ginagawa. Lalo sa research, parang ang hirap namang i-procrastinate ito na parang deadline today, 2 a.m. mo palang gagawin, no, on that particular day. Hindi dapat. So please, no, dear students, don't rush your work. No? So para hindi din tayo magkaroon ng problema later on. Okay? So ayan. I think we will be entertaining the questions. Or somebody raised their hand kasi, unless very relevant to that. No? I can entertain that. Or probably napindot. I'm not sure.
Sir Raf Dalisay?
Yeah.
Do you have any question?
Yeah, baka pwede nating entertain as we go.
Ay sir, napindot lang po.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, no problem. You can reserve your question later. Okay, thank you. Now, we go to the research sources. I think it's important that we know the sources and tools that we can include. I know you're already familiar with this one, but I'll be suggesting and recommending some sites, some online sites. Since we are at the comfort of our home, we are learning remotely right now because of the pandemic. It's great that we know, these particular resources that we could use in our research. Syempre, mga books, if you have books, at your in your house or books online, pwede nating gamitan yan as a source for related literature. Newspaper, our newspaper now are digitized. Ang daming digital newspapers that we can access online. Philippine Star, Philippine Daily Inquirer, Manila Bulletin, Rappler, ano pa, Daily Tribune, etc. We also have local newspapers. We have a lot of local newspapers in Zambales or even in Longapo. We can cite that as sources. Journal articles is the bulk of sources that we include in our paper. No? So lahat tayo alam ang journal article. I suppose, no? I assume, no? Alam ba natin ang journal article? Are we familiar with the term journal article? If yes, no, you can type in the comment box yes, okay? So journal articles. So ano yung mga journal articles? These are actually concise format of thesis and dissertation. So eto mga naka-IMRED na to. No? Usually mga journal articles will run from 5 to 15 pages. So very short articles na sila na we could cite, no, in our paper. Speech and letter, no. For example, we could cite the speech of the president, President Duterte. A letter, for example, of the president to a certain organization or a certain agency, pwede yun. Thesis and dissertation, there are also online thesis and dissertation that you get, okay, that you can access. So pwede natin silang i-cite. So these are the published thesis and dissertation. The question is, sir, can we cite thesis and dissertation na hindi pa napapublish? Yes, pwede nyo naman yung i-cite, no? As long as naka-conform kayo doon sa tinatawag nating rules ng inyong college. So for example, ayon sa inyong rules, bawal kayong mag-cite ng unpublished, then hindi natin sila pwedeng i-cite. Pero pag wala namang naka-spell out na bawal na mag-cite ng mga unpublished thesis and dissertation, you can cite, no, the thesis and dissertation of former hospitality management students or former or other thesis and dissertations which are not published yet. Encyclopedia and almanac are some sources that you could also cite. And then for the next slides, I'd like to share with you some of these virtual sites or online sites that we can use. Of course, napaka-familiar natin with the Google Scholar, di ba? So, alam ba ninyo? Siyempre, alam ninyo ang Google Scholar, no? So, parang nahihiya kayo mag-type sa comment box, so it's okay. So, for Google Scholar, sobrang easy siyang gamitin, okay? Pag hindi nyo alam yung pinaka-site ng Google Scholar, pwede nyo type lang sa Google Scholar, and then pwede na natin siyang makita. So Google Scholar actually is one of the largest databases for researches, but not all research articles are in the Google Scholar. So hindi lahat. So you can go back to Google later on para maghanap pa ng mga relevant articles. Because some of your research topics in hospitality management will deal about students, about hospitality management education, pwede kayong pumunta sa ERI kapag medyo education related yung inyong researches, no? Pero pag hindi naman, walang masyadong kinalaman sa education, hindi advisable ang ERIC because ERIC houses research articles only about education sciences. Panay education siya. So it's an Institute of Education Sciences. Okay? You could also go to academia.edu. Yung ibang mga authors, what they do after ma-publish sa journal website, yung kanilang mga papers, they upload it in their academia profile. And pwede nyo rin silang makausap. No? May option sa academia.edu na parang chat or message box, no? Pwede kayong magpaalam if you can adopt, for example, the research questionnaire, or if you can access the full copy of their paper, pwedeng ganon. So, kasi pag nag-download ka sa academia.edu, merong option doon na bakit mo siya din-download, no? What's the reason why did you download this paper? Para din mabasa din ng author na dinownload niya yung paper because, diba? Because kailangan niyang i-cite or kailangan niyang gamitin yung research questionnaire. Okay? Science Direct is also a very good website. There are also open access. May mga open access na meron sa Science Direct. Meron din namang mga non-open access. Pero halos marami ding mga Science Direct articles related to hospitality management na pwede niyong makita, no? So you just go to Science Direct, search that in Google, and then you can go to their website, and then pwedeng kung ang a study nyo is about, for example, market leadership, example lang naman, market leadership in Subic Bay Freeport Zone. So pwede nyo i-type in the Science Direct website, market leadership. And then some articles will actually appear na. And then you can download that if it's open access. RG. Are you familiar with RG? So ano nga ba yung RG? RG is ResearchGate. So for RG, what they do, you could also talk to the authors. No? It's actually parang a social media for researchers. So hindi ka basta-basta makaka-enroll or makaka-register sa ResearchGate kapag wala kang institutional email. So, if you think kailangan mo na mag-register sa ResearchGate kasi marami kang mga articles na gusto makita in the ResearchGate, pwede kang mag-register. Pero pwede namang hindi ka naka-register, ma-access mo rin naman yung mga articles na to. So, again, going back, if you want to register, use your institutional email. So, ano ba yung institutional email? Yung meron kayong domain ng school. For example, danrogayan at gordoncollege.edu.ph. So, meron akong institutional email, pwede akong mag-register sa RG. Kasi, itong RG, hindi tumatanggap ng mga Gmail or yahoo.com na mga email. So, pero you can search naman in the database ng hindi nagre-register and pwede nyo rin makausap. No? For example, you want to request a copy of the questionnaire or a copy of the paper, pwede sa ResearchGate. Okay? Apart from that, we also have ProQuest. Sa ProQuest, ang feature ng ProQuest is liban sa mga journal articles, ang meron at marami sa ProQuest ay mga theses and dissertations. Okay? So, may mga open access ang ProQuest. Naglabas sila recently ng mga open access thesis and dissertation. Mamaya ipopromote ko yung aking Facebook page. Pwede niyong balikan yung post ko about this one. Na tungkol, of course, you can actually access, of course, about hospitality management. So, maganda na nakakakita kayo ng mga buong thesis at buong dissertation kasi makikita niyo talaga yung sobrang detalyadong proseso. Kasi pag mga journal articles na, mga short, mga summarized thesis and dissertation na to mga to. SSRN or the Social Science Research Network, pwede rin kayong kumuha dyan, nag-upload din ng mga researchers ng kanilang mga paper dyan, publish or preprint, yung mga hindi pa napapublish, pwede rin ninyong kunin yan as one of your data sources. Now, if meron kayong kailangang ihiwalay nyo yung literature for foreign and local, which we're not doing anymore in our college, kasi kapag for example, ang literature ay published sa Pilipinas, yes, sasabihin natin local literature siya, yes. Pero kapag ang nag-cite nito ay taga-China, taga-Korea, that particular literature is already a global literature, a foreign literature already. So ngayon, parang ang notion ngayon kasi is every literature published online, whether it's coming from the Philippines or abroad, will be treated as a global literature. Kaya yung ibang mga schools, wala na yung foreign and local. But I'm not sure with your format, but if meron man, you can go to Philippine e-journals, PEJ. It's a host of local journals, Philippine journals, sobrang daming Philippine journals na pwede nyo makita dito and ma-download yung mga articles regarding your hospitality management. If you really would like to see Filipino authors. Pero kung wala masyado sa PEJ, you go to Google Scholar, ang itatype nyo lang doon, for example, market leadership, tapos type nyo Philippines. No? Magkakaroon na ng mga magkakaroon na ng mga local literature. O kunyari, ang study nyo is about ano ba ang mga sa hospitality management. So for example, about the effect of COVID-19 pandemic in the hospitality industries in Olongapo City. So ilalagay nyo doon, effect of COVID-19 pandemic in hospitality management industries or hospitality industries, hospitality industries Philippines. So makakakita kayo ng mga research articles na isinulat ng mga Filipino authors or ginawa sa Pilipinas. JSTOR is another open access website where you can actually get some literatures. So dito sa JSTOR, marami kayo rin makikita ng mga open access articles. EBSCO host, ganun din. Kaya lang ito minsan kasi may subscription sila. Pero kung meron kayong subscription sa school ninyo or probably meron kayong makita mga subscription or open access dito, pwede nyo rin tingnan. Okay? And then lastly is Project Gutenberg. Project Gutenberg actually consists of literatures, of books, no, of articles where you can actually add in your paper. Okay? And then, by the way, the National Library of the Philippines, the NLP Reference Division, is actually accepting, no, request. Kunyari, meron kayong gustong libro or meron kayong gustong article pero hindi siya mabuksan. And then, pwede nyo siyang i-request sa National Library through this one. So, try ko siyang i-zoom. So, ito. So, mag-i-email lang kayo sa rd.eresources@gmail.com or reference@nlp.gov.ph. So, you can request, for example, an article or a book, no? An e-book or an e-journal. So, na naka-host ha, na feeling nyo nasa EBSCO siya, hindi yung buksan, nasa Gale, Science Direct, Wiley, Press Reader Digital Library, or Botanical Library. You can do that. Okay, actually, I tried once, no, may mga hindi ako na-open and then just email them and then para saan yon? So state your purpose and state your kung anong ginagawa niyo, kung sino kayo. Of course, for example, undergraduate student of this university or college. Okay? So sabi dito, my thesis, no, watching the internet Netflix, no. Sometimes we do, pag lalo ngayon, no, ngayong we're working or learning from home, doing research at home or doing research remotely, minsan meron tayong mga may mga sumasanib sa ating mga katamaran. And I hope, no, na we always have these priority lists, no, in our phone or in our little notebook. Kapag sinabing kailangan in this particular week, in this week kailangan matapos ang chapter 1. Okay, dapat 'yon at the end of the week, week 1 kailangan merong chapter 1. And then second week dapat merong chapter 2. The third week dapat may methodology. So we should have a timeline. Pwede kayong magkaroon ng thesis diary na kung saan iaanin ninyo ano yung mga dapat gawin ninyo para hindi kayo nade-distract with a lot of distractions now and a lot of issues, no, you know, right and left na mga issues na yan. So kailangan nating labanan yung mga yan. Okay. Now for the research areas, I know that you are already familiar with the scope of hospitality management. Now, I'd like also to emphasize na pwede ninyong tingnan din anong mga area pwede ninyong gawa ng research. Will it be on travel and tourism management? Parang magandang gawa ng research ngayon yung yung travel industry natin. Lalo yung mga nag-work in the travel industry, no? What were the consequence of their of the COVID-19 pandemic to them? Were they laid off? Nawalan ba sila ng trabaho? And how did they cope with this COVID-19 health emergency or this pandemic? So pwedeng tignan accommodation. So marami ding hotels and even restaurants na nagsara, no? Nakakalungkot parang every day na nagbabasa ako ng newsfeed ko regarding mga nagko-close mga establishments or mga well-established na nakakalungkot. So, pwedeng tignan din kumusta ang accommodation sector. Entertainment and recreation, baka pwede rin tignan itong mga to. Kumusta ang mga artists, no? Yung mga, for example, nasa entertainment industry, yung mga nasa mga, for example, those with theater, movie theater, mga ganyan. Part din ng hospitality management. Food and beverage. So mga nagsulputan din ngayon mga online products, food and beverage products. Baka pwedeng tingnan din yung marketability nito, pwedeng tingnan din yung acceptability nito sa mga tao now that there's a limited mobility, hindi tayo makalabas, so they tend to buy online. So tingnan din kung pwede bang tingnan din dyan yung sanitation, environmental implications ng mga to. So marami tayong pwedeng explore. COVID-19, although it's a pandemic, has also opened opportunities for us to explore a lot of areas regarding the pandemic and regarding the response of the government towards it. Events management, diba? Parang ang hirap mag-event ngayon, pero unti-unti nagbubukas ang sector ng events management. Baka pwedeng tignan din yung how do the events management in hospitality industries are being done despite the pandemic. Are they following health protocols? Parang ganyan, no? And then magandang tignan what are the health parang what are the health guidelines and health protocols being practiced by hospitality industries in Zambales or in Ilonggo po. Parang ang ganda rin tingnan. So, ang dami niyang pwedeng gawin. Pwede rin naman kayo mag-focus lang in your college din. For example, hospitality management education, yung mga challenges na na-encounter ng ating mga hospitality management students, or those pwede rin tingnan yung mga siguro employment during the COVID-19 pandemic. How do they actually, para hindi ma-contract yung virus. So there are a lot of areas that you can explore. Okay? And to end the sources on literature, I'd like to share with you some journals before we go to the conducting research in the new normal. So for the Philippine e-journals, pwede kayong magtingin ng mga journals na ito. Actually, pwede sa inyo, for example, hospitality management, pwede nyo tignan itong Asia-Pacific Journal of Multidisciplinary Research kasi may mga articles dyan about tourism, about hospitality management, pwede. And then, pwede nyo rin tignan yung, saan ba pwede pa dyan? Kasi yung iba pang science, pang engineering. You could also check the Recoletos Multidisciplinary Research Journal kasi it's multidisciplinary. And then even the Journal of Educational and Human Resource Development. Kasi meron kayong area on human resource management. So pwedeng tingnan din yan for your relevant literature. And then these are some, I only included 4 journals regarding hospitality management. So we have International Journal of Hospitality Management, published by Elsevier. There are a lot of articles published years ago, recent and years ago. You can check some articles there para meron din kayong idea ano pa kayong mga gap na pwede nating tingnan, ano mga problema na hindi pa masyado na-explore, pwede nyo tingnan. We also have from Emerald Publishing, International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management. So maganda rin tingnan tong mga journals na to. And we also have the Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Management, also from Elsevier, and then the Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Education. So you can check this. Yan ang mga ginagawa namin, no? That's what I advise to my students. So before proposing their topics, they should have read the journals or research articles regarding their topic. So that doon pa lang kasi sa part ng recommendations ng mga research articles. So this is another hack na ginagawa namin is we go to the recommendations part of a research article. So base dun sa recommendation part, nakikita namin yung mga hindi nila nagawa na nire-recommend nilang gawin ng mga future researchers. At yun yung gagawin. No? At yun yung gagawin naming research pa rin. Kasi hindi pa nagawa eh. Hindi nila nagawa, hindi pa masyadong nagawa, at yun yung nare-recommend na gawin. So pwede nyong i-adopt. So pwedeng ganun. Pag nahihirapan kayo maghanap ng mga research problems na gusto nyo, pwedeng doon kayo sa recommendation part ng mga research article. Maghanap ng problema or maghanap ng researchable topic na pwede nyo gawin. Okay? In the Philippines, I think marami naman tayong journal, pero I only included 2 na dito sa Pilipinas about hospitality management. We have the Lyceum Philippine University Laguna Journal of International Tourism and Hospitality Management. So pwede nyo rin tingnan yung mga ginagawa nilang mga research. Baka pwedeng i-replicate kung wala pa sa context ninyo, sa context ng Zambales o ng Olongapo, baka pwedeng i-replicate yun. Kasi the replication is also okay kapag very limited ang gumawa. Or baka meron silang other mga ideas na pwede nyo makuha in that journal. Then, International Journal of Sustainable Tourism and Hospitality Management. Okay? Now, has anyone else felt like this lately? No? So, meron minsan tayong mga parang empty battery feeling na parang ano ba yan, sa dami ng ginagawa natin, sisingit pa yung thesis natin, sobrang hindi na namin alam kung magpo-progress ba tong thesis na to. No? So, if you feel this way, you should always have this circle of support with your friends, with your thesis advisor or thesis teacher. And it's okay to feel bad, it's okay to feel empty sometimes, but we always have to, move on, and we always have to continue. So pause lang for a while and then continue. And then ask help, if you can. Don't be ashamed to ask questions. So sabi nga, wag mahihiyang magtanong. So, asking question will not make you any lesser. No? So parang asking question is not really a sign of ignorance. It's just you are trying to improve yourself also, and you're trying to broaden your perspective and knowledge by asking questions. Okay? And now we're down to the to these conducting research in the new normal. And I'd like to share with you some online research tools that you could use now that we cannot go out talaga fully, that we have to strictly follow health protocols. You can conduct your research online. And how do we actually conduct research online? We could use tools such as Google Form or Microsoft Forms or SurveyMonkey. For example, your responses are tourists, for example, in Olongapo City. So you can actually ask for help siguro ng sa mga hotels, mga sa kanila, mga for example, naka-check-in, and then gusto nyong ipaano yung kanilang experience, and then you cannot go there because of the health protocol. So pwedeng sila yung mag-lead ng survey ninyo sa mga guests na to or sa mga tourists na to. Or for example, your respondents are managers of hospitality industries in Subic Bay Freeport Zone. So i-connect lang ninyo sa mga HR office probably, or in the website ng kanilang mga restaurants, yung inyong survey link. So you can do a survey online. You could also do video conference. You can use video conferencing apps. For example, you want to interview, for example, people, but because of limited mobility and because of the IATF guidelines na bawal kang for example lang naman, bawal kayong sobrang mag-gather ng sobrang dami, you could use video conferencing apps for your interview. You may use Facebook Messenger. Okay, you may use Google Meet, such this one, and then Zoom probably. Pwede nyo ring ma-record yan via Google Meet or via Zoom, or the Microsoft Teams kung meron kayong subscription, or the itong Accord na tinatawag nating application. So these are all for video conferencing apps that you can record or you can actually use for your interview. And then for citation, minsan kasi nagkakaroon ng problema for citation. Ano ba yan? Minamano-mano ko yung citation. You can actually use the Google Scholar Citation Generator. Pag sinearch ang Google Scholar, meron dyan sa baba ng article, nakalagay cited by, related articles, all versions, then may cite na word doon. Pag pinindig niyo yung cite na word dyan, pwede kayong pumili anong citation ang ginagamit nyo. I think you're using APA. No? So APA now is in APA 7. So, pwede nyo lang i-click yung APA and then yun i-paste nyo for your references. Kung ayaw nyo yan, meron naman tayong iba pang mga reference managers tulad ng Mendeley. Mamano-mano nyo nga lang ilagay yung mga details na to or i-upload yung PDF. Pwedeng available ang Mendeley in Google. So, lagay nyo lang Mendeley reference download. No? So, pwede nyo ma-download yan para kapag nagsasite kayo ng paper, automatic siya. Pero you need, of course, to manually input some of this data. Meron din naman ang Microsoft Word insert citation tool, pero ito ilalagay nyo pa rin naman yung mga So, nasa sa inyo yan if you'll be using a Google Scholar, but again, for the Google Scholar, hindi lahat ng articles ay nasa Google Scholar. Say for example, you're using newspaper, kailangan yung i-manual na ilagay yung citation. And I always tell this to my students na kung sino mga authors ang nilagay ninyo sa inyong thesis manuscript from chapter 1 to 5, kailangan naka-reflect yon sa inyong references. Hindi pwede na sinite nyo for example, si Alvis 2021 sa inyong chapter 2, pero pag nakita sa references, walang Alvis 2021, diba? You're not crediting the author. So you should give proper credit to the author by citing them in the reference because ginamit nyo Ginamit nyo yung material, no? Sinite nyo yung material. This same is true with the research references. Kapag sa references, meron for example, ADAMS 2020, pero wala namang nakalagay sa, walang nakalagay sa thesis manuscript. So, kailangan matanggal yan. Kailangan yan. Lahat ng meron sa references ay nasa thesis manuscript. So, sabi dito, how to make progress in your manuscript. First, download 100 references. Second, read 3 of them. Third, write a sentence. 4, call it a day. Kaya minsan natatagalan tayo, nag-download nga tayo. Ang dami ko ng references. Nasa virtual folder ko na siya, nilagay ko na po siya, nakaayos na po. Pero binasa mo 3 lang na research article out of the 100. Tapos, ang sinulat mo lang na sentence, iisa. And bukas na ulit. Hindi gano'n. So, at least, makaano ka naman sana ng, let's say, 5 readings a day, and then sana makasulat ka kahit 2 paragraph a day, no? Para at least may progress, no? Para at least meron kang timeline na susundin. Okay? Some online research tools din na pwede nyo magamit are some Facebook pages, no? I'm sharing here the Facebook page of Philippine Normal University Publication Office because they upload, no, research articles also and research tools na pwede nyo rin makita or masite, and then may mga pinopost din silang mga updates, no, regarding research. Meron silang one time, meron silang tinatawag na question and answer about research. Pwede nyo siyang balikan, may tanong doon, and then sinasagot nila. Nagtatanong yung mga audience, and then sinasagot nila. Natapos na kasi yung program nila ngayon, yun, but you can go back to the questions na meron dyan. We also have the Princess and Marcy City Research Office. What we do here is we post trainings about research, we post updates about research, we post tips about research also. Yung latest namin post about APA 7 citation, no? Pwede nyo rin tingnan kung paano mag-cite ng journal, paano mag-cite ng libro, etc. So, malaking tulong din yon. I think several hundreds din ang nag-share nun. So, you can actually go back, no? Pwede nyo pong tingnan. And then the research pod, for research pod naman, pag medyo ano na to, usually what they share in the research pod are for funding. So pag feeling ninyo, gusto nyong ipa-fund yung project, your research project niyo with the help of your teachers or your advisors, may mga funding, mga grants, no? May mga grants na binibigay ang National Research Council of the Philippines regarding that, no? If you want to, or you can submit proposals na pwedeng i-fund. No? Lalo ngayon, baka later on magpatawag sila ng proposal on the impact of COVID-19 to the hospitality industries, pwedeng kayo. Okay. And I'll be promoting my personal Facebook page, the Ag Amazing Guru. Because here naman, I actually share open access resources, yung mga freely downloadable, about research and about education. And I also share here free webinars na pang-research, and then kung hindi man pang-research about related to research or related to education, na pwede nyo rin attendan, especially if you have time. Kasi minsan mga webinar naman, 1 to 2 hours or 1.5 hours, okay? Now, when you leave things for tomorrow and tomorrow arrives, that's what you feel, no? So, kailangan nakaplan kayo at maayos ninyong ginagawa yung inyong mga, yung inyong plano for your thesis or research. So, kailangan nakaplan yan, okay? So, ito lang, some suggestions lang na pwede nyo magamit. Very quick lang to. You can actually use descriptive survey, no? Magsa-survey lang kayo about a certain topic. Or you want to do descriptive developmental, you want to develop, for example, an application or a website or anything, no, that is related to hospitality management, pwede yun. Descriptive evaluative, kung gusto nyo i-evaluate, for example, ang response ng government regarding hospitality management, evaluate ang response ng human resource management ng mga companies or ng mga hospitality industries regarding retention ng kanilang mga employees, pwedeng ganon. Pwedeng kayo mag-descriptive correlational. You have one variable and another variable and try to correlate them. For example, you want to see the knowledge and practices of hospitality management students towards COVID-19, pwedeng mag-correlate yun. Pwede rin kayo mag-experiment, pero hindi masyadong ginagawa, I think, ang kasi experimental in hospital management. Unless may intervention kayo gustong gawin, pwede ito, and then i-check yung effectiveness. So these are quantitative researches. Pwede rin mo kayo gumamit ng qualitative researches, research designs, tulad ng phenomenology. So titingnan nyo dito yung live experiences. So for example, you want to see the live experiences of hospitality management students in juggling their time as student and as a part-time worker, for example, part-time employee, for example lang, no? So pwedeng mga 5 to 10 participants lang to, okay na, basta masaturate nyo yung data nyo. Hindi kayo titigil kapag hindi pa na-saturate yung data. Pag sinabi ko na-saturate yung data, pag ulit-ulit na lang yung sinishare ng participants nyo, huminto ka na doon. Kung 6 lang, so after ng 6 na yon, ika-6 ng participant nyo, wala na kayong makuha, okay, stop na. So 6 participants would be fine. Pwede rin case study, for example, isang company lang ang gusto nyong tignan, o case study of one company, case study of one restaurant, case study of one, pwedeng ganyan. Okay? Of a certain topic, kung anong gusto nyo topic. Ethnography is you go out to the community, you immerse with them. So, ano ba yung mga pwedeng sa hospitality management? Baka pwedeng tignan ang mga indigenous cuisine ng, ano ba, ng Zambales, for example, ng Aita of Zambales. Okay, baka pwede yun sa hospitality management. I'm not sure, but you are trying to immerse in the community. You also have descriptive qualitative, parang dinidescribe niyo lang yung perception ng mga participants or dinidescribe niyo yung mga experiences nila na very, quick lang din. So descriptive qualitative can be done. And then you could also have documentary research. Pag documentary research, pwedeng nanguha ka lang sa website, nanguha ka lang ng data, and then pwede na yun yung gawin mo research. For example, gusto mo ng documentary research about doon sa mga na-experience ng mga client ng mga airline companies such as Cebu Pacific and PAL, Philippine Airlines, sa pagka-cancel ng mga flight na binubook nila. Pwede kang gumawa ng sentiment analysis at kukunin mo yung mga comments nila sa Facebook. You can do that, documentary research. So these are some research designs. We could have another day to discuss it in detail, but these are just some suggested designs. Now, sabi dito, sa research, umpisa pa lang, dapat meron ng definition of terms. Parang lab life, umpisa pa lang, dapat alam nyo na kung ano ka, kung ano siya, at kung ano kayo sa isa't isa. Kasi dapat talaga, in research, may labeling, may definition. So what is the label or definition of that particular concept in your research? Kasi tinatanong din yan ng ating mga panelists, na parang, how will you define market leadership in the context of your study? How will you define, for example, challenges in your study? So ganon. So you need to make sure that the definition is operationally defined in your paper. So at least sa research, may definition, diba? May label. Okay? And then for conducting research in the new normal, for the first part, I'd like to share with you some of the tools that you can use. So ano yung mga tools na pwede natin magamit? So ito pa yung pwede natin magamit. So pwede kayong gumamit ng survey questionnaire if you will be doing descriptive survey. You can use observation checklists. Pero ito kasi parang with the pandemic na parang hirap mag-observe. But you can do that kung kaya naman. Tests, pwedeng magpapatest kayo, multiple choice binary response or open-ended. For example, gusto nyo malaman yung, for example, attitude nila towards, awareness nila towards the IATF guidelines in hospitality industry. So may mga test kayo pwedeng i-test doon. So alin sila, sa mababa sila, alin yung mataas, and then pwede nyo i-recommend later on ng improvement or intervention. Interview guide is also a tool that you could use. May set of questions kayo, naka-predefined question yan. Pwede yan structured or semi-structured. Pag structured, kung ano yung tanong yun na yun. Pag semi-structured, pwedeng may follow-up kayo base dun sa sagot. Okay? Reflective journals, baka pwedeng gawin din yun. Yung reflection na lang nila ang kukunin nyo as data sources or documents. Gaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo, pwede po kayo for the documentary analysis. So sabi, sorry for promising to write a lot of stuff and then not writing it. So kapag may pag sinabi nyo, isulat nyo yan and then make sure na gagawin nyo talaga yun. Tapos pag may mga idea na flow sa isip ninyo, sige, take note of it. Yung generation ngayon, mga Gen Z halos, kayo ay mga Gen Z na, your generation Gen Z, minsan ang sobrang sobrang distracted natin. So, minsan may naisip tayo, minsan hindi na natin ma-remember kung ano yung naisip natin. So, you scribble it in your notebook, in your small, lalo kapag you're writing research, napakahalaga na meron kayong little notebook, booklet, for example, and then you just write some of the thoughts, some of the ideas that are overflowing from your head. Paano, sir, pag walang idea? Parang gano'n. Paano naman pag walang idea? Yun yung problema natin, if walang idea. But, of course, you can always, ito yung lagi kong ginagawa. I cannot write without reading. So I have to read first before I can write something. The same is true with researching. You cannot write something about your paper, about your research, if you haven't read anything or you haven't surveyed the literature. So please read, and that's one of the macro skills that we need to cultivate. Okay. And the second part of this conducting research in the new normal is what data collection can we do? Of course, you can float the questionnaire online or you can float the questionnaire on-site. Pwedeng pupunta kayo doon or pwedeng online. Ang ginawa namin since ngayon ay panay actually what my students are doing now are online surveys, no, and then online interview. So isa sa mga technique na ginawa namin for the floating over questionnaires is that we incentivize. So parang meron kaming mga pakulo. So for example, yung ginawa ng isang advisee ko, ang mga sasagot ng mga ng survey namin, ng questionnaire, will receive one official entry. Meron siyang may one ticket siya for the raffle, parang gano'n. So yung raffle, parang 3 prizes, may first, second, and third. So everybody answers and then kapag sumagot, okay, meron siyang pangalan dun sa raffle. And then yun, through GCash din yung pagbibigay ng prize. So pwedeng mga gano'n, lalo kapag pag feeling nyo wala nang sumasagot. So pwede kayong magawa ng mga ganyan pakulo para or the first 10 nasasagot may gift certificate. Mga ganon. So, it's up to your strategy. You can administer the test, but I guess pwede na yung mga online test na to kung talagang test ang gagamitin nyo. You can conduct field observation, but with the pandemic now, siguro very limited observation. You can conduct one-on-one interview with your participants or focus group discussion. Pwede yung focus group discussion in interview can be done online, either Google Meet such as this one. So, magsasalita ang bawat isa. And then, naka-record naman, so hindi ka mahihirapang i-transcribe later on. Kung walang recording yung inyong subscription, pwedeng naman. Siguro, pwedeng tawag doon, may camera ka na nagre-record ng nangyayari. Pwedeng ganon. And then, doing documentary analysis. So, these are some of the data collection that you can do in your researches. So, another research hugot, sabi, ang research pinagpapaguran at pinaglalaanan ng panahon. No? So, kailangan, it's okay na mapagod tayo dito. It's normal. It's normal that it will take us, blood and sweat. No? So pinagpapawid, dinudugo tayo dito. But of course, this really is the nature of research. Of course, nakaka-enjoy din to as pag natapos na lahat at work. Okay? And then lastly, for data analysis, although wala pa yung data, I'll be sharing lang ito quickly. So pwedeng ang data nyo will be treated through statistical analysis using descriptive statistics or inferential statistics. So pwede kayong gumamit ng mean, standard deviation, frequency, percent. Pwede rin kayo mag-inferential. If you want to test the significant relationship or significant difference, you can use t-test for 2 groups, ANOVA for 3 or more groups, Pearson, R, and Spearman rule for correlation. So if you want to correlate variable A to variable B, pwede kayong gumamit. So lahat ng to makikita natin under data analysis. And then pag qualitative data naman, sir, anong gagawin namin? Wala kaming computation. Yes, pwede kayong gumamit ng thematic analysis or content analysis. So kung hindi nyo pa alam itong thematic analysis and content analysis, pwede nyo siyang i-search. Ang daming mga available literature about this or description about this one. Okay? So, and lastly, for statistics, so pwede kayong gumamit ng Microsoft Excel. So minsan, yung inyong Microsoft Excel, wala pang data analysis part yung nakadilaw dyan. So pwede nyo ilagay yan sa add-in ninyo para mabuksan nyo yung data analysis. So sobrang ganda rin gamitin ito kasi kunyari, i-click ko lang yung correlation, nandiyan na agad yung sagot, yung ANOVA, yung t-test, etc. So pwede nyo siyang i-try later on after our webinar, pwede nyo tignan din yung inyong mga Microsoft Excel because we can use that for data analysis. Kung medyo mas mataas ng level yung data niyo, you can use SPSS. Pag sinabing SPSS, Statistical Package for Social Sciences. And we can use that in hospitality management. Alright? So ito, for SPSS, baka mayroong mga subscription yung school nyo or yung stat teacher nyo or research teacher nyo. Pwede nyo And then marami namang YouTube tutorials about this one. Or kung hindi, magtatanong. Magtatanong kayo about the computation. Okay? So meron din tayong stata, pero hindi masyadong pero may mga online stata na pwedeng gamitin, so pwede nyo rin siyang gamitin. Okay? Sabi dito, ang research at lab lang. If you fail, masasabi mo na lang, ma, I'm sorry, ma. So ganon. So kaya minsan, hindi nakaka-graduate kasi pending ang thesis. Or hindi nagawa ang thesis. So we have to make sure that we finish our thesis so we can finish our degree on time, diba? Pero again, I said earlier, it's not a compliance, it's not just for compliance because it's also your contribution, no, to the hospitality management sector or area. Ang research ay parang lab life, no? Masakit ma-reject. So, minsan nare-reject yung ating mga titles, yung ating mga topics. So, sasabihin ni research teacher, anong bago dyan? Wala namang bago dyan. No? So, rejected. Isip ko ulit. So, we have to keep thinking. Kaya, minsan ako, pag topic defense ako, dapat 3 topic. Para pag na-reject yung 1, go to 2. Pag na-reject yung 2, go to 3. Pag na-reject lahat, okay, so, mag-topic defense ka and then, yeah, mag-isip ka ulit ang title, ng topic. Ang lab life ay parang research revision. Hindi mo alam kung saan ka nagkulang. Ang daming red marks, no? Minsan pag natapos ang proposal defense, ang daming comments. It's okay, no? It's okay. It's normal. You just have to address these comments lightly, no? Wag, don't take it too personal. No, it's because they want the paper to be improved and to be okay. So kailangan nilang gawin yun. So we have to revise, no problem. Okay? And then at least the research grant, di ako taken for granted. By the way, for the research grant, pwede kayong humingi din ng mga grant. No? Pag naging full-blown researcher na kayo in your field or with the help of your advisor, pwede tayong humingi ng mga funding. No? For example, yung research niya is about the Olongapo City, baka pwedeng pondohan niya ng City Council. No? Kasi gagamitin din naman nila yung data ninyo. So pwedeng gano'n. So we just have to try and to ask. Okay? And then lastly, tips and hacks for oral defense remotely. This will be the last topic, no? Before I end. So very quick lang itong mga tips na to. So tips and hacks for oral defense remotely. First, know the rules. If the rule is you will be using Google Meet for your defense, and then you have to familiarize yourself, no, with the Google Meet. If it's Zoom, then you have to familiarize yourself with Zoom. And then, of course, kapag sinabing kailangan mo magsabi ng hard copy, okay, you have to submit hard copy. Pero pag hindi, soft copy na lang, then you have to email the copy days before the scheduled defense. So we make sure that all the rules are followed before your oral defense. And then, of course, you have to manage expectations. Now that it's very limited mobility at online gagawin, for example, ang inyong defense, kailangan i-manage mo yung expectation. No? So kailangan mag-remind ka din ng pag-mute ng microphone para hindi distracted din yung hindi kayo distracted while you are presenting, no? So maglatag ng mga house rules, and then after which titignan mo din yung expectations mo when it comes to the internet. So kailangan i-manage mo ng mabuti kapag nawala ka, for example, na naka-leave ka automatically, you have to go back and then ano lang, yung composure ninyo dapat okay na. Huwag kayo masyadong matense or kabahan kasi nawala ng kuryente, for example. So may plan B ka, dapat sa phone mo meron ka rin data, for example. Para kung nasa laptop ka at nawalang kuryente at walang charge yung laptop mo, at least may backup ka. So we need to manage your expectations. And then you have to find suitable space and technology. So for the space, make sure na malayo ka din sa masyadong maingay, sa masyadong medyo magulo, or sasabihan mo yung inyong mga kasama sa bahay, for example, that it's your defense, that you need to concentrate and focus, at dapat kailangan mo ng tahimik na lugar. So you need to find suitable space. And of course, technology din. So make sure that the internet connection is good, or kung hindi man, magpapaload ka na, for example, no? Anyway, minsan lang naman ang ang oral defense. So you have to find suitable space and technology. Importante din that you practice remotely, no? Kailangan, if it's Google Meet, so at least pwede mong itry. Pwede kayo mag-try ng mga group mates na, oy, mag-Google Meet nga tayo, mag-practice tayo for our defense. Alam mo, ang pinaka-importante dito is you're sharing of your PowerPoint, so dapat smooth ang transition ng PowerPoint sa, so ipapractice mo yun. Ay, nagta-transition naman, nakikita naman yung visuals natin, naririnig naman yung video kung may video. Kasi ang nagiging problema about defending virtually means kapag may video, hindi naririnig yung audio. No? So kailangan make sure i-practice nyo kung paano ba magkakaroon ng audio, etc. Okay? And then you have, very important ito, you have to format the slides. So, kailangan yung inyong PowerPoint, hindi naman yung kinapi-paste mo yung 3 paragraph sa isang slide, no? Ayun na ayoko yun, no? As a research panelist. Kasi the reason why you're actually having a PowerPoint is for the audience to, you know, to have to have an attention, and the retention is there. Kasi kung sobrang mga text na yan, text na nga yan, wala ka ng graphics, wala ka ng infographics, wala ka ng mga icons, tapos sobrang lilit pa ng font, hindi na yan, ano, no? The focus and attention will be decreased. So, hindi na yan titignan ng mga panelists. So, make sure that your visuals are getting their attention, that it can retain the audience, it's engaging, not to the point na sobrang daming mga gumagalaw dyan, hindi naman ganun, or yung transition mo, ang dami pang mga, ano. Limit your transition kapag mga ganitong online, ano, mga ganitong online presentation. Kasi, minsan, yung ano ng signal, it could affect your presentation. And then, of course, kailangan comprehensible yung inyong mga text, no? So, dapat yung part, very important part, the introduction, meron, methodology, the results and discussion. Sa results, kahit yung mga tables na lang ilagay mo or graph na lang, wala na yung pinaka-interpretation kasi ikaw na yung magsasabi nun. Diba? Kakailagay nyo pa doon yung interpretation, no? Hindi na, kailangan ikaw na yun, no? Para you are just describing the graph and the table. And of course, it should be clear and can actually be engaged. You can engage your audience or the panelists. You can make use of icons, graphics, no? And then good type of font. Baka naman sobrang arte ng mga font, very feminine yung mga ano, no? Meron tayong mga feminine fonts, meron mga masculine font. Well, gender fair tayo, but these are just ano naman. Yung mga feminine fonts kasi na sinasabi nila based on the style is yung mga cursive, mga ganyan. So avoid that one, no, when you're doing your PowerPoint. Okay? And then lastly, you have to celebrate well. Pwede kayo mag-celebrate via Zoom or via Google Meet with your group mates, or celebrate on-site or personally with your family, no, at your home once you're done with your defense. Yes, natapos na rin. It is done, diba? So, at least, nakakahinga ka na. And very konti lang, Kung marami mga revisions, it's okay. You still can celebrate because these revisions are actually indications that they want your paper to be good. Okay? And last slide is on the research dissemination and publication. So, I'd like to share with you na after you defend your paper, i-publish. So, you can actually do publication of your papers. Okay? So, I'd like to share lang my Google Scholar profile. So, if you want to check some of my published works, you can go to my Google Scholar. My name is there. You can just type it in the Google Scholar. And my vision for my students is that after they defend their paper, they need to publish it. Minsan na-challenge ko sila, sasabihin ko, tapos siya na, naka-defend na kayo ng paper niya, di ba? Sige, publish na yan. Of course, with my guidance. So, kailangan, sabi ko nga sa kanila, hindi lang naaalikabukan sa library yung mga thesis nila, pwede natin i-share yan with a wider audience, no, through publication, no. And I actually included here two of my mentees na nakapag-publish ng paper nila. The first post was posted lang kahapon kasi lumabas yung email kahapon. Sabi ng estudyante ko, the fruit of hard work and dedication. So today, I received an email of the acceptance of our research study. It will be published this month in the journal Pandikakan Biology Indonesia or the Indonesian Journal in Biology Education. So very happy siya. So he shared it in his social media account. Nakita ko siya kahapon. So ayan. So it will be published this March. And then other mentee ko, he posted this last year during the pandemic, June 2020. Sabi ko nga, it's a blessing that we were able to publish a paper, even it's despite the pandemic. And then, ayan, thank you po sa Normal Lights and mga advisor ko na tumulong sa akin dito sa thesis na to. So, that's what I challenged them. Na parang, after you do your research, let's publish it. No? And maganda na merong mentor and mentee tandem para dito. Para hindi lang nakatago yun sa inyong mga library. So if you have questions on publication, I am very willing to answer that in my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, Amazing Guru. And if you have questions more, kasi publication topic will be another session. No? So this is just a preview about that one. So after finishing your thesis, I hope, no, after a year or 6 months or a year, wag naman sanang ganito ang magiging itsura natin. So fresh pa rin dapat. Okay, after a year na ginagawa natin thesis natin or after 6 months na ginagawa natin yun. Huwag tayo masyadong ma-stress, but of course, that's part of the work. But we have to manage ourselves. Okay, so to end, I'd like to share with you that we have the power to improve our 4Ps, practices, programs, projects, and policies in hospitality management through research. Marami pong salamat at magandang hapon po.
Thank you very much for an interesting and informative presentation, Sir Rogayan Jr. Yes, indeed, guys, many of us nahihirapan in making a research simply because we don't know how to start and we don't know when to start. So basically, like Sir Rogayan said, we need to find first what is the real question, what is the real problem, why we need to conduct a research for order to us to know what will be the purpose and objective of our research. And now let's proceed to our Q&A forum. If anyone has any question and concerns that is related to our topic, simply click the raise hand button for order to us to notice you and open your mic to raise your question. Or simply just go to the website in Google, type menti.com and enter the code 523 76774 and you are free to ask any question and your personal identity will be anonymous.
If you have questions or clarifications, we can entertain them. Or if you have insights to share or any clarifications. Yeah,
And I think our students are quite shy pa, no? So I think let's proceed to comments. Okay.
okay. Shall I answer it, Sir Vincent, or somebody will be reading it first?
The host will assist you, sir.
Okay, go.
Okay, the first question po, sir, is what are the qualities of a good research question?
Yeah, actually, first and foremost, the good research question. First, it should be measurable. No, it should be measurable. So when you say measurable, is there a corresponding tool that you could use to measure the research question? Say, for example, your research question, for example, what is the profile of the College of Hospitality or Hospitality Management student? So, ang tanong doon, ang second question is, measure mo ba yung profile nila? What will you use? So, syempre, meron kang sasagutin mo, survey questionnaire. Okay, it's measurable. We can accept that. Second, what are the challenges of the hospitality management students? For example, that's a research question. Tatanungin mo yung sarili mo, paano ko kaya ma-measure? Will I measure it through survey questionnaire or through interview guide? So, pwede yung survey questionnaire, kung measurable siya dyan, okay. Kung interview guide, gusto mong open yung sagot nila, wala kang expectations ng pwede nang isagot, hindi siya close-ended with survey questionnaire, then you can use that. Another quality is that it should be specific and clear. Hindi siya masyadong malabo. Say, for example, research question mo, are human resource heads happy in their job? For example lang, no? So, answerable lang siya ng yes or no, no? So ano ngayon ang insights doon? Ano nga yung data na gusto mong is that particular question very helpful in your research, no? So it should be measurable, it should be clear and specific. And another thing is it should be done, no? It should be done. Ibig sabihin, hindi ka mahihirapan to gather that particular question. So for example, your research question would be ano ba yung mga pwedeng mahirap na research questions? So for example, kunyari ilalagay mo, what are the incidents, or what are the, what incident of bad marketing do the restaurants commit, no, for this particular target. But make sure na ethical yung question, kayang i-provide ng mga respondents mo. Kasi kapag feeling nila bad off yun sa kanila, bad image nila, hindi ka magpo-provide. And so your research question will not be answered. So make sure it's specific, it's measurable, it's clear, and it's realistic, or it can be done. I think I hope I was able to answer that. Okay.
The next question po, sir, is why we need to avoid the research title that is answerable by yes or no?
Ayun yung sinasabi ko sa research question. Pinapa-avoid ko talaga din yan. When my students are writing their research question, sabi ko, avoid questions that are yes or no, answerable by yes or no, unless pwede siya sa profiling later on, or probably an add-on lang siya or supplemental information. Now, for this one, why we need to avoid the research title that is answerable by yes or no? Kasi after yes or no, wala na eh. Nandun na, wala ka man lang justification. Why is it a yes? Or excuse me, why is it a no? So parang nakalimit ka lang dun kasi ang magiging rason ng inyong mga respondent, ang tanong mo lang naman yes or no. So we answered yes or no. Wala ka, hindi, mahirap, ang kaalis babalik ka na naman sa kanila that they need to justify. So for the research title, answerable by yes or no, siguro tignan dito yung concept talaga, ano yung gustong aralin. Kasi kapag, for example, is COVID-19 pandemic harmful to hospitality industries? Example lang naman to. Yes, yun pa na yes. Pero wala kang insight na makukuha kasi ang sagot lang nila yes. Now, how will you know that anong reason nila? Okay? So, I think you need to recraft. You need to retitle that particular title para you can gather essential or substantial information. That's why the reason we're avoiding that is we cannot gather essential or substantial information. Yan lang.
The next question po, sir, is can qualitative and quantitative research be combined po?
Yeah. Actually, you can use mixed method, no? Dito, nare-recommend ko din siya na gamitin nyo para maganda din makita na meron kayong may quanti part kayo and then may quali part. Lalo kung, for example, may survey kayo and then may survey questionnaire na kayo, kahit 1 to 2 or 2 questions lang doon sa last part ng inyong questionnaire para at least meron kayong pwedeng i-analyze thematically. Kasi maganda din yun eh. Yung mga hindi nakalagay, kasi pag survey kasi close-ended ito eh. Parang, ano ba yan? Parang nakahon na kami sa mga tanong sa questionnaire. Para hindi sila makahon sa mga tanong sa questionnaire, you can add 1 or 2 open-ended questions at the end of the survey questionnaire that can be analyzed qualitatively. And that could be used for your mixed method research design. Ang tawag natin doon is mixed method research, no? Using quantitative and qualitative research. At I know na exciting to, no? Medyo ano lang, dalawa, pero medyo feeling natin mahirap lang, pero it can be done. Yeah, it can be combined.
The next question po, sir, is there an alternative po to get respondents po lalo na this pandemic?
Yeah, actually, ganito. Say, for example, if you are, for example, would like to gather information about hospitality industries, for example, in Subic Bay Freeport Zone or in Pacific, you can actually write a letter to the head of HR in the SBMA kasi may mga contacts yung mga yan. And of course, knowledgeable dyan yung mga research instructors. You can ask them, no, who to write to, who to coordinate with. It can be done, and then they will be the one to help you finding the directory. And then pag binigay yung directory sa inyo, probably either email or website or phone number, pwedeng through email ang correspondence, through phone call ang correspondence. Kung ang mga respondents nyo naman, for example, say for example, community people, no, or mga pwede kayong mag-snowball sampling. May bibigyan kayo ng link, and then yung mga bibigyan nyo ng link, yun din yung magbibigay ng link sa mga ito. Pwede kayong mag-post, you can actually utilize your social media account. Nakalimutan ko nga pala ding i-share in my slide yung ginawa namin parang post sa social media na parang we're asking for respondents, and then ilalagay mo dun sa post mo who are the eligible respondents na dapat sumagot, college student, 18 to 30 years old, etc., etc. This is the link of the survey. This is the purpose. If you have questions, mga ganon. So it can, we can get responses even this pandemic because in our college, we are recommending them to use the online tools talaga. Now that we are still in a pandemic, that we're still in general community quarantine, and the mobility is very hard, so we can use that. And ang maganda dito, pwede nyo tignan din yung mga researches na ginawa nitong pandemic. So you can go to Google Scholar and then click 2021 or 2020. May mga methodology doon na pwede nyo na yung gawin or i-follow. But yes, it can be done.
Sir, will be a considered selfish if ililigwak ko po yung mga kagrupo na pabuhat yun po.
Okay. I think the most important thing here is that you build a rapport in your team. You build camaraderie in your team so that after building the camaraderie and rapport in your team, there would be a sense of commitment. So this particular commitment will make them ashamed of not helping eh. Pag may commitment na sila, mahihiya na hindi tumulong eh. And then siguro as a leader or as the principal investigator, you need to delegate the tasks, okay? And then make follow-up, no? Ngayon, pag hindi talaga, so for example, hindi talaga, kausapin ng maayos. And then, ipaliwanag na the research will not be complete if one part is missing. And that one part is missing should be supplied by you. And what you need to do is to supply this one talaga. And I think, yun, pag hindi pa nadaan sa ganon, report it to the advisor, to the research teacher, for proper action. Actually, may nangyaring ganyan ngayong pandemic. Apat sila sa grupo, niligwak nila yung isa. Pero bago nila niligwak yung isa, nag-ano sa akin muna, nag-confirm, may conference muna, then kinausap ko both parties. Are you willing to go out of the group na kasi you're not helping daw? Willing naman siya, okay? Nung willing siya, sige. Agad-agad topic defense ko siya no, after a day para gumawa siya ng sarili niya. But for the question, yun nga, parang ano muna, tignan mo muna yung mga possible ways na pwede siyang ma-entice to work. Pag hindi, okay, sige.
Sir, next question po, paano po malalaman kung pwedeng gawing RRL ang mga nakikitang sites sa internet po?
Yeah, okay. I recommend you to go to parang maganda na parang 80% of your RRLs are coming from journal articles. So parang lahat yan mga journal articles. Preferably sa mga reputable journals, mga Scopus Index or mga ISI Index. Ngayon, meron kasi yung tinatawag ng mga blog sites. So titignan mo din kapag mga personal websites, medyo i-avoid natin mga ganun, yung mga personal blogs unless mga blogs siya ng mga university like kunyari, blog site ng Michigan University, blogs ng Oxford University, yan, pwede yun. Tapos mga news websites. Mga news websites tulad ng nabanggit ko kanina, Inquirer, etc. And then, you always look for the author. Ngayon, pag medyo, parang medyo, dito, doubtful ka sa author, search mo yung pangalan ng author online. Pag nakita mo na, yun lang yung article niya, tapos parang, hindi siya talaga credible author, then don't cite the work. So, yun.
Sir, next question po, yung contents po ba ng questionnaires dapat may basis or kasama sa RRL or okay lang kami pong researcher ang gagawa na lang ng questions?
Actually, magandang question yan, no? So, actually, kapag diniscuss mo ang research instrument, kasama tong dinidiscuss. Dahil sobrang limited yung time natin, hindi ko na yung sinama. But yeah, ganito yan. Two ways. Pwede kang mag-adopt ng research questionnaire mo. Ibig sabihin, ginamit na to ng dating mga researchers and then i-adapt mo siya. Pwede yon. Basta isa-cite mo kung sinong gumamit nun. Pwede mo siyang i-modify. May ginamit na siya ng previous researchers pero may gusto kang i-baguhin doon. Okay? Pag binago mo yon, isa-cite mo din na modified yon. Ibig sabihin, sino nag-modify yon? Kayo. Nag-modify yon? Kayo. Pero may existing questionnaire na. And then third, pwede kayong gumawa base sa literature. So for example, dahil wala pa masyado, for example, na questionnaire in the context of COVID-19 pandemic, pwedeng binasa mo yon sa mga binasa mong researches and then gagawin mo yon. So, the categories or the domains or dimensions included in your questionnaire can be based doon sa mga RRL na binasa mo. So, for example, pag tinanong kayo ng prof ninyo o ng research teacher ninyo, o saan nabasa yung mga dimensions na A, B, C, D? Kunyari may 4 na dimension. Sir, the A, B dimensions are adopted from the study of. Meron kang ganon. The dimension C is taken from the study of, while the dimension D is taken from ganon. So meron kang basis, no? Now, it's very important that if you modify or you create a questionnaire, you do pilot testing. So ano ibig sabihin ng pilot testing? Itatry nyo muna yung questionnaire ninyo sa non-respondents, yung mga hindi nyo respondents, pwedeng 10 to 15 people or 10 to 30 people. Now, kapag na-try na ninyo, i-compute nyo yung reliability, okay, using pwedeng Cronbach alpha coefficient, meron tayo sa SPSS non-skill reliability. Pag acceptable yon, 0.7 to 0.9 ang Cronbach alpha coefficient, dami ko sinasabi. Okay, coefficient, acceptable yung questionnaire ninyo, pwede nyo magamit yun. So you can ask assistance from your research mentor or research teacher about it. So kailangan naka-pilot test. So after pilot test, okay naman yung result, okay, pwede na siyang gamitin.
Sir, next question po. How can we define the next exact number of respondents po kung unknown ang population?
Okay. Actually, pwede kang gumamit ng pwede kang gumamit ng probability or non-probability sampling. So pwede kang gumamit ng mga non-probability sampling, mga non-random sampling, kung saan pwede kang mag-purposive sampling na lang or mag-convenience sampling na yan dahil hindi mo alam yung population. So for example, qualitative ka, for example, pwede ka na lang mag-purposive. Kunyari, purposive, gusto ko yun lang mga naka-experience ng ganitong phenomenon. And then kunyari, 15 ang nasaturate mong data, okay na yan, 50. Pwede ka rin mag-quota sampling, 100. Pwedeng ganon, magkakota sampling na lang kami. Or snowball sampling. Sa snowball sampling kasi hindi mo talaga mapipredict ilan ang samples nun. Kung ilan yung mga nag-share ng participants. Actually, itong question na to is very relevant now that we are doing online survey. Kasi nga, syempre, kung tourist, ilan bang population ng tourist na pumunta sa Olongapo? Unknown nga yan. So, pwedeng naka-random sampling ka na lang, very purposive sampling ka na lang. Although, meron tayong mga standardized na mga calculator software na pang-compute ng samples. Pag alam mo yung population, kayang-kaya naman. You can just search sample calculator or sample size computation online, calculator online, meron din. Parang hindi na kayo magmanaman. Isa-cite nyo lang sa paper nyo kung anong software yan.
Sir, next question po. What would be the best sampling method to make sure that we can get as many respondents as possible?
Actually, parang best sampling method kasi depende yan sa study. Parang feeling ko lang best sampling method. Pero it's always depend on the topic. Now, gaya na sinabi ko sa inyo, yung qualitative research, sir, 5 lang po yung participant namin. Quali po kami. Okay yan, no problem with that. Kasi nga, nasaturate mo na yung data mo sa 5. So, okay, 5. Ngayon, pag survey yan talaga, usually, dapat nga daw, minimum of 100. No? Ang mga survey. Ngayon, pwede kang mag-total population sampling kung gusto mo talagang marami yung mo. Kunyari, ang population lang ng hospitality management in one college in Olongapo City is 300. So, feeling mo, mababa yung 300. I-total sampling mo. Ang tawag natin doon, total population sampling or tinatawag natin comprehensive sampling. Ibig sabihin, total enumeration of all the respondents. Para, sir, paano yun? 300 sila, tapos ang bumalik lang pong questionnaire namin is 127. I-re-report mo yan under respondents. Ganon. So, hindi mo i-aim na 300 kasi yun yung nilagay sa proposal. No. There are circumstances that would hamper you not to get the 100%. So, ilalagay mo yan. No? Due to the pandemic, for example lang, out of the 300 who were surveyed, only 115 responded to the online survey questionnaire. Some respondents were busy doing their course requirements while some are having digital divide issue. May ganon. So you need to, you need to explain or justify.
Sir, next question po. Require po bang pagkuha ng statistician?
Okay. Depende sa guideline ninyo in your college. but it's also good to have statisticians for you to be guided, especially kapag meron ng data at medyo feeling nyo sa sarili nyo, medyo weak pa kayo sa statistical computation interpretation, pwede kayong kumuha, no? Ngayon, yung mga statistician, pwedeng friend niyo, mga kakilala niyo, or kung hindi man, kakilala ng friend nyo, tapos kung may minor na payment, for example, tignan nyo din naman, kasi syempre, ano rin naman niya yan eh, parang he or she took time, no, in helping you. Baka pwedeng parang konsuelo na lang yung kung magkano yun, or kung wala siyang pinanap, magbigay na lang kayo ng token, or any form of gratitude or appreciation. So, pwede naman yon. So, ngayon, kung pag sinabi namang hindi required and kaya nyo naman, so pwede naman kayo na lang mag-compute ng inyong data. And then, pwede rin naman kayo sa Microsoft Excel kung nahihirapan kayo pa sa SPSS, or may mga YouTube tutorials naman. And then, i-correct na lang later or magtatanong lang kayo ng assistance.
Sir, ano po ba dapat na ilagay sa research lokal, lalo na ngayon sa bahay lang po kami gumagawa?
Baka ang intindi dahil sa bahay gumagawa, yun yung research local. Hindi naman. The research local or the research location is saan mga respondents, saan nyo kukunin, anong lugar sila. Okay? Saang lugar nyo sila kukunin? For example, kukunin namin sila sa buong probinsya ng Zambales. So, Zambales will be your local. Okay? So, yun yun. And then, ano ang tawag dito? Ang lokal namin ay Olongapo City. Saan sa Olongapo City? Will it be company? So, pwede nyo i-mention yung mga company. Ngayon, for ethical consideration, pwedeng hanggang sa lokal lang yung mga pangalan ng company. Pero sa result, pwedeng company A, company B, company C. Lalo kapag nag-measure kayo ng client satisfaction, example lang naman, baka super baba yung company F ng client satisfaction, tapos may pangalan pa doon, nabasa ngayon yung research ninyo, tapos chinismis na, uy, ang baba ng client satisfaction ng ganitong hindi na rin pupuntahan, baka mabalikan kayo. So, as part of ethical consideration, we have this anonymity, okay, in presenting your result. Ako ganun pag sinasabi ko sa mga estudyante ko, bakit may mga pangalan ng school ito? I-anonymize nyo to at unless pumayag silang sabihin yung mga pangalan in the report. Pero if not, anonymize it. And going back, kahit sa bahay kayo gumagawa ng research, even while you're writing, titignan nyo sino ang sasagot at yun yung lugar na mailalagay ninyo. I hope I answered that.
Next question po, paano po kami makakahanap ng statistician ngayong pandemic po?
Okay. Actually, pwedeng via mouth recommendation, siguro pwedeng na-recommend sa inyo, pwede kayong magtanong sa mga kakilala ninyo, sa mga baka may kakilala din, yung mga friends ninyo from other schools, like for example, from Kulumban, from Pringsu, baka may mga kakilala sila. Pwede naman. Although, yes, mahirap na lalo ngayon, sobrang hirap. Pero because of technology, pwede kayong mag-usap online, pwede lang, sir, pwede po bang consultation about it kung tama lang po yung ginagawa namin? Baka pwedeng ganun lang. And then, pwedeng i-guide ka nila, okay, for mean computation, madali lang, ganyan lang gagawin niya. Parang papagawa din sa inyo, pero gina-guide lang kayo, pwedeng ganun. So, I think you can ask your friends. Kung wala talaga, you can ask your instructor or your research teacher, baka mayroon silang may recommend.
And for the last question po, sir, since because of the pandemic, the questionnaire survey is being done online, what would be a good strategy to get as many respondents as required in the study po?
Yeah, actually, I had a meeting with my advisees, no? Kasi ang survey nila is pang school lang din, lahat ng mga college students enrolled in the campus. And then ang population namin is 1,024 students. Total population ang kinuha Ngayon sabi ko, okay, so at least target ninyo maka 500 man lang kayo or 600. But sadly, it came out 329. Pero good na rin yun. A good sample na rin naman yon, yung 329. And then, ang strategy na ginawa nila is that kasama sa link na binibigay nila that once you accomplish the survey questionnaire is you will earn a raffle entry. And your raffle entry will be your email. So yung email ang kinolect namin. So we collected the email and then we recorded we use online randomizer for the raffle. Tatlo kasi first prize namin is 500, then 300, then 200. So, out of 329, tatlo lang mabibigyan talaga. Okay, tatlo lang talaga mabibigyan. Pero motivation na rin yun kasi magkaka 500 ka, sumagot ka na ng questionnaire, di ba? Kasi ng first, yung second and third. Ganon. Tapos na-record na, tapos in-upload namin yun sa Facebook para hindi na mag-live. Pwede nyo rin gawing live yon para at least nakatutok din yung mga naging respondent nyo. Another is, pwedeng first 5 respondents makakakuha ng gift certificate. Siyempre, paunahan yan. Okay, kaunahang sasagot yan. The moment you click the survey, and then you share it, so the first 10, sabihin natin, the first 10 will receive ganito. Pwedeng ganon. Or, the power of friendship. Siyempre, gagamitan lang ngayon. So, gamitin natin ang mga kaibigan natin, di ba? They'll be the one to share the link. So, that's what we do, no? So, gamitin yung mga kaibigan nyo sa iba't ibang college. Sila ang magano dyan. And then, end friendship na kapag wala silang napasagot. Charot. Hindi naman. So, you have to, you have to strategize talaga. And I think incentivization is very important. Kasi, ang term ko sa mga advice ko, o hindi kayo magpapaano dyan, wala kayong incentive dyan, lalangawin yan. Sabi ko, lalangawin yan, busy lahat. Or maglarason niya, walang data. But yeah, we're happy we received 300 plus responses. So yun lang, sobrang dami kong sinabi. So thank you.
Again, thank you very much, Sir Danilo Villarugayan Jr. I was glad you reserved a few minutes po to answer all the questions po. Your answer were very useful and insightful po. And as a token of our appreciation, may I call on Mr. John Vincent de la Cruz, our Chair Advisor for the presentation of Certificate of Recognition.
Okay, so again, good afternoon, everyone, to our BSHM third-year students. Majority are third-year students. Also, meron din atang first-year and second-year students. And of course, the fourth-year BSHM students, good afternoon. To our Dean, to the CHTM faculty, and of course, to our Program Coordinator, Sir Jason. Good afternoon po, sir. So I would like to take this opportunity first to thank everyone who registered in this webinar and for the continued support ng ating mga students activities na pinaprovide ng SHARE organization. Okay, and to our distinguished resource speaker, Mr. Danilo Villarugayan Jr., for accepting my invitation, sir. Thank you so much. And also for sharing your invaluable knowledge and expertise in the field of the research studies. Now to present our Certificate of Recognition. So the certificate goes like this. So Gordon College, College of Hospitality and Tourism Management, Society of Hotel and Restaurant Enthusiasts presents this Certificate of Recognition to Mr. Danilo Villarugayan Jr. for having served as resource speaker for the webinar entitled Research Works, a Viewpoint for Hospitality Management Students, held via Google Meet this 12th day of March 2021, given this 12th day of March 2021 at Gordon College, Olongapo City, signed by the Chair President, Ms. Princesa Bel Isidro, the Chair Advisor, yours truly, and of course, our College Dean, Mr. Mark Alvin Lazaro. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting my invitation and for sharing your knowledge with the Gordon College HM and HRM students.
Thank you very much po. And thank you to all the students who took time then po to attend this webinar. I hope you learned something. And again, thank you, Sir Vincent, to the Dean and to the Program Chair po. Thank you very much po for the invite.
At this point, guys, I encourage everyone to open your camera po for our documentation. Again, guys, I encourage everyone po to open your camera for our documentation po. I will count 1 to 3 and give your best smile, guys. And 1, and 2, and 3. Another one po.
Wait, tatanggal muna natin yung
Stop.
Ayan. Okay?
Again po, 1, 2, and 3 po. Isa pa po. 1, 2, and 3 po. Okay na po. And at this point, guys, we encourage everyone to join and participate, share upcoming activity po called Quiz B with a Twist, and it is open to all hospitality management students. And to formally end our webinar, may I call on Mr. Jason Bagasan, our coordinator, to give a closing remarks.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Narinig niyo ba ako?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, first of all, I will like to congratulate the Share organization for a job well done sa pagkakandak ng ganitong klase ng webinar. And to your advisor, Mr. Vincent de la Cruz. And I want to thank our speaker, Mr. Rogayan, na bring niya lahat ng mga, at least yung mga hindi ko na-discuss. Actually, sir, ako yung isa sa mga nagtuturo ng research. And I'm very thankful at na-bring out niyo po yung ibang mga topics dito. Thank you very much, sir. And I hope sana yung mostly mga third-year student dito, nakuha yung mga information na yun. Because that is very useful at this time because sila po ay papunta na sa pagtatapos ng kanilang research. Okay? So I hope everyone is okay and have a useful afternoon this within this webinar. And thank you po sa lahat ng umattend. Thank you very much. And God bless. Lahat po sana ay mag-ingat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Jason Bagasan. Again, here's the reminder in getting your e-certificate. First, you must finish the evaluation form that will be given after the webinar. The evaluation form link is only available 1 hour after the webinar, so make it sure to finish it immediately. And wait at least 5 working days for the processing of your digital e-certificate. And ladies and gentlemen, we couldn't have done this successfully without our participants and our guest speaker, Mr. Danilo Villar Rogayan Jr., and also to our supportive CHTM faculty, and of course to our CHTM Dean, Mr. Mark Lazaro, who spared their time attending this webinar. Again, thank you for joining our webinar entitled Research Work, a Viewpoint for Hospitality Management Students.
Box.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po.
Well, the